Hello, this is Dodie from Deliberate Aging. Welcome to my podcast. Hello, friends. Welcome back to my podcast. Now, most of us are familiar with the word lifespan. It's the measure of how long we live. It's a number, a timeline, a biological clock ticking from birth to our final breath. And then there's Healthspan, a term that's gained traction in recent years. Healthspan refers to how long we stay healthy, active, and independent. It's not just about living longer, but living well. But there's another word, less common but deeply important, Joyspan. Now, Joyspan refers to how much joy we feel as we age. And it's not about the number of years we live or even how physically fit we are. It's about the quality of those years, the richness, the laughter, the sense of meaning, the spark. Because let's be honest, why would we want to live longer if we don't feel any joy? Joyspan invites us to ask a different kind of question. Not, how long will I live? But how fully will I live? It's a shift in perspective, a gentle nudge toward what really matters. And for many people, especially in later life, it's a concept that resonates deeply. Dr. Carrie Burnite, a gerontologist who has spent decades studying what makes aging meaningful, offers a powerful insight. Living a long life does not automatically mean living a good life. That's a truth many older adults understand intuitively. Longevity alone isn't the goal. Thriving is the goal. And to truly thrive as we age, Dr. Burnite emphasizes the importance of three essential ingredients: joy, purpose, and connection. Now, these aren't luxuries, they're necessities. They're the emotional nutrients that sustain us, especially as we navigate the changes and challenges that come with growing older. Joyspan, then, is not just a feel-good idea. It's a framework for living. It's a way to measure the moments that matter, and it's something we can actively cultivate. Now, Dr. Burnite outlines 4 key practices that help increase your Joyspan. And let's explore each one, not as a checklist, but as an invitation to reflect, adapt, and grow. So number 1, keep growing and learning. Now, growth does not stop at retirement. In fact, many people find their later years offer a unique opportunity to explore new interests, deepen their understanding, and expand their horizons. Trying new things, whether it's learning a language, picking up a musical instrument, or simply reading about a topic you've never explored, keeps the brain engaged. It sparks curiosity. It creates a sense of vitality. Traveling to new places, even if it's just a nearby town you've never visited, can refresh your perspective. Meeting new people introduces fresh ideas and different ways of seeing the world. Taking a class, joining a discussion group, or attending a lecture can reignite a sense of wonder. The brain thrives on novelty, and joy often follows closely behind that. Number 2, give to others. Generosity is a powerful antidote to stress and loneliness. When we give, whether it's our time, our attention, or our wisdom, we create connection. We feel useful, we feel seen. Volunteering at a local food pantry, mentoring a young person, or simply offering a listening ear to someone who needs it can elevate mood and reduce anxiety. It reminds us that we're part of something larger than ourselves. Now, giving doesn't have to be grand. It can be as simple as writing a note of encouragement, sharing a recipe, or helping a neighbor with errands. These small acts ripple outward, creating joy not just for others, but also for ourselves. Number 3, adapt and be resilient. Aging brings change. That's inevitable. But how we respond to change, that's where resilience comes in. Maybe driving to the grocery store isn't feasible anymore. That's frustrating for sure, but it's also an opportunity to learn something new, like using a delivery service or asking for help. Maybe playing competitive tennis is no longer possible. That doesn't mean the joy of the game is lost. It might just shift into coaching, teaching, or watching others play. Resilience isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging the challenge and choosing to pivot. It's about finding new paths when old ones are blocked. And it's one of the most powerful tools for expanding Joyspan. Then there's number 4, foster connection. Humans are wired for connection. We are social beings. We thrive in community and we need each other. In-person connection, like sharing a meal, joining a book club, or attending a local event, can be deeply nourishing. But even a phone call, a video chat, or a handwritten letter can bridge the gap. Social connection reduces isolation, boosts mood, and reinforces a sense of belonging. It reminds us that we're not alone, and it often leads to laughter, storytelling, and shared joy. And of course, there's some tried and true Joyspan boosters, such as foundational practices that support both Healthspan and Joyspan are exercise, for example, which releases endorphins, those feel-good chemicals that lift our spirits. Eating well, staying hydrated, and getting enough sleep all contribute to emotional balance and physical vitality. And these habits aren't just about avoiding illness. They're about creating the conditions for joy to flourish. So let's dive into the science and psychology of joy. Now, joy isn't just a fleeting emotion. It's a deeply rooted experience that touches both the mind and the body. And while happiness often depends on external circumstances, joy tends to arise from within. It's quieter, more enduring, and often more meaningful. And from a psychological standpoint, joy is linked to emotional resilience. As we age, many people become better at regulating their emotions. We learn to let go of what doesn't serve us. We become more selective about where we invest our energy. And this emotional wisdom contributes to greater capacity for joy. Neurologically, joy activates areas of the brain associated with reward, motivation, and social bonding. Activities that spark joy, like listening to music, spending time in nature, or connecting with others, release chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin. And these aren't just feel-good substances, they're essential to our overall well-being. Interestingly, research shows that older adults often report higher levels of life satisfaction than younger people. Despite physical changes or external losses, many find that their inner world becomes richer. Joy becomes less about excitement and more about peace, gratitude, and presence. So let's now talk about joy across our lifespan. Now, joy looks different at different stages of life. In childhood, it's often spontaneous, running through sprinklers, giggling uncontrollably, discovering something new. But in adulthood, joy might be tied to achievement, relationships, or milestones. And then in older adulthood, joy tends to shift. It becomes quieter, more reflective. It might come from watching birds at the feeder, savoring a favorite meal, or simply sitting in silence with someone you care about. This shift isn't a loss, it's a deepening. Joy becomes less about novelty and more about meaning. It's found in the familiar, the routine, the small moments that might have gone unnoticed in earlier years. Cultural attitudes toward aging can influence how we experience joy. In societies that value youth, older adults may feel overlooked. But in cultures that honor elders, joy is often tied to wisdom, storytelling, and legacy. Wherever we are, we can choose to reclaim joy as a vital part of aging. So now let's talk barriers to joy in later life. Of course, joy isn't always easy to access. We have to acknowledge that. Aging can bring real challenges: loss of loved ones, changes in health, reduced mobility, or shifts in our identity. These experiences can create emotional weight that makes joy feel distant. Loneliness is one of the most significant barriers. As social circles shrink or routines change, it's easy to feel disconnected. And yet, even brief moments of connection, a smile from a neighbor, a shared laugh, a phone call, can begin to rebuild that bridge. Now, grief is another barrier. Whether it's the loss of a spouse, a friend, or a sense of purpose, Grief can cloud joy. But joy and grief aren't opposites. They can coexist. Sometimes joy emerges not in spite of grief, but through it, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Societal narratives also play a role. If aging is portrayed as decline, it's harder to feel joyful. But if aging is seen as a time of growth, reflection, and contribution, joy becomes more accessible. The key is not to deny these barriers, but to acknowledge them and then gently work around them with compassion and creativity. So now, how do we actually practically cultivate Joyspan? Joyspan isn't something we just stumble into. It's something we can nurture. And the good news, it doesn't require dramatic changes. Small, intentional practices can make a big difference. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools. Taking time each day to notice what's good, whether it's a blooming flower, a kind word, or a moment of peace, can shift our mindset and open the door to joy. Mindfulness helps us to stay present. Instead of dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, we can learn to savor the now. Even simple activities like washing dishes, folding laundry, or walking outside can become meditative when done with awareness. Movement is another Joyspan booster. Whether it's stretching, dancing, gardening, or walking, physical activity releases endorphins and improves mood. It also reinforces a sense of agency and vitality. Creativity sparks joy. You don't have to be an artist. Just engaging in something expressive like cooking, writing, or arranging flowers can awaken joy. It's about play, exploration, and self-expression. And curiosity keeps joy alive. Asking questions, learning new things, and staying open to surprise helps us stay mentally agile and emotionally engaged. Now, these practices aren't about perfection. They're about intention and choosing joy, even in small ways, every single day. So now, joy often multiplies when it's shared. There's something magical about collective experiences. Singing in a choir, attending a community event, participating in a ritual. These moments create a sense of belonging and amplify joy. Even shared silence can be joyful. Sitting with someone in quiet companionship, watching the sunset, or simply being together without words can be deeply nourishing. Cultural traditions often hold joy at their center. Whether it's dancing, storytelling, cooking, or celebrating seasonal changes, these rituals connect us to something larger. They remind us that joy is not just personal, it's communal. And humor. Oh, how important humor is. Laughing with others, sharing a joke, or finding lightness in everyday situations can lift spirits and create bonds. Joy doesn't always have to be profound. Sometimes it's just plain silly, and that's beautiful too. So now, what happens as we age? Well, as we age, we begin to think more about our legacy. Not just what we leave behind, but how we live now. Joyspan is part of that legacy. It's the emotional imprint we leave on others, the energy we bring into a room, the kindness we offer, the wisdom we share. Legacy isn't just about accomplishments. It's about presence, about how we show up, about the stories we tell, the values we pass on, and the joy we model. Intergenerational joy is especially powerful. When older adults share joy with younger people through mentorship, storytelling, or simple companionship, it creates a ripple effect. It teaches that aging isn't something to fear, but something to embrace. Joyspan becomes a gift, not just for ourselves, but for those who come after us. So in closing, Joyspan is not a destination. It is definitely a journey. It's woven into the fabric of daily life, waiting to be noticed, nurtured, and celebrated. And as we reflect on what it means to live fully, let's remember that joy doesn't have to be loud. It can be quiet. It can be steady and deeply felt. It can live in a smile, a song, a shared moment, or a peaceful breath. We may not control how long we live, but we can choose how we live. We can choose joy. We can expand our Joyspan. So wherever you are in your journey, may you find joy in the ordinary, meaning in the everyday, and connection in the spaces in between. May your Joyspan be wide, deep, and enduring. Thanks for listening. This is Dodie from Deliberate Aging. Until next time, be well, friends. This podcast is presented solely for informational and educational purposes only. Use of information from this podcast is at the user's own risk. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician or other qualified professional. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from use of this podcast.